The starship Vacheron floated in silence at the edge of a dying star system. Its dark hull shimmered with reflected starlight as it slowly passed through cold space. Inside, the crew of the alien vessel was busy scanning for rare metals. Lost probes, or anything useful that could be sold to the black market, Captain Zorak. A tall reptilian with rough green scales and golden eyes stood on the bridge. He wore a dark command robe, and his tail moved slowly as he studied the holographic display. "Commander," crew technician called out, tapping her 3 fingers on the screen. "We're getting a strange signal. It's very old. Human origin." Zorak's eyes narrowed. "Human, out here." The technician nodded. "Yes, it's coming from a deep space escape pod. Looks like it's been drifting for years." Another crew member leaned in. "Should we ignore it?" Zorak shook his head. "No. If it's human tech, it could be valuable. Humans are rare this far from their territory." The bridge filled with quiet excitement. They had heard stories about humans' flesh-born anomalies, primitive yet unpredictable. Some said they were aggressive. Others claimed they had powers no one fully understood, but most believed they had vanished long ago from this sector. Within minutes, the crew locked onto the pod's coordinates. It drifted slowly in the cold dark, turning gently in space. Its hull was scratched, burned, and barely holding together. But the signal was still strong. Inside, one life sign remained. The pod was brought into the lower hangar. As it hissed and thudded against the docking rails, a group of scientists and guards gathered around. The outer shell opened slowly, releasing a cold cloud of frozen air inside. They found a human Meltall, muscular, and covered in torn black uniform armor. Blood had dried on one side of his face, his hair was matted, and his eyes were shut. But his breathing was slow and steady. Dr. Tannic, a pale-skinned alien with 6 fingers and long silver robes, scanned the man with a handheld device. Vital. Signs normal. Remarkably stable for someone in long-term stasis. He must have been in cryosleep. Zorak stepped closer, keeping his hand near his weapon. "Bring him to the examination chamber. I want full scans. DNA brainwave patterns, everything." As they moved the human's body onto a hover gurney, something strange happened. The ship's lights flickered. The crew paused, confused. A hum began in the background, low at first, then rising like a distant engine spinning to life. Tannic looked up. "That's not coming from our systems." Zorak frowned. "What is it?" The technician checked the console. "Sir, the signal is changing. It's no longer a distress call. It's broadcasting coordinates." "Coordinates to where?" Zorak snapped. "To us," she said, eyes wide. "It's sending a beacon. Someone's listening." Suddenly, the human's eyes opened. They were dark, but aware, calm, not surprised. He looked straight at Zorak, even though he had no translator. His lips moved slowly. "You should have left me out there." Zorak stepped back, claws tightening on his belt. "How do you know our language?" he asked, but the man didn't reply. He just looked around slowly at the ship, the walls, the screens. As if he'd been here before, the guards moved in closer, but the human didn't resist. He didn't speak again. He let them strap him to a steel table inside the secured chamber. Later, that night, as Dr. Tannic studied the scan reports, his hands began to shake. He called Zorak immediately. "There's something wrong with his DNA," Tannic said. It's rewriting itself, like it's evolving." Zorak frowned. "Explain." Tannic enlarged the image. "Ah! No species should do this. His cells are adapting faster than anything I've ever seen. His immune system just erased a micro-tracker we planted. Gone in under 2 minutes, he knew." Zorak asked. Tannic nodded slowly. "I think he knows everything." The lights flickered again. This time, alarms blared. "Unauthorized system access detected. Core firewall breach in progress." Zorak ran to the central bridge. Screens were blinking. One of the engineers shouted, "Sir, someone's hacking the mainframe," from inside. Zorak's heart pounded. "How? We're air-gapped." The engineer turned, pale. "It's not a software hack. He's using energy, brainwaves. Zorak's voice turned into a whisper. What is this creature? Suddenly, all the ship's doors opened at once. Sirens blared. Lights turned red. The engines shut down in the prisoner chamber. Cameras showed the human still strapped to the table, but the metal around his wrists had melted. He stood, breathing slowly, hands free, his expression cold. Zorak ordered full lockdown. Troops rushed to the chamber. But when they got there, the human was gone. Only one word was burned into the wall, in perfect galactic standard script. Return. Down in the archives, an ancient AI core log disconnected from all systems, activated by itself. The crew had forgotten it even existed. It said just one sentence. Elias Ward has re-entered the galaxy. Zorak stared at the name. Who is? Elias Ward? No one answered, because no one remembered. But something had changed, and in the silence of space, ships far across the stars began to receive the same signal. The last signal from Earth, and now. It was a call to war. Elias Ward sat in the center of the alien interrogation chamber, his hands resting on the cold metal table. Heavy chains locked his arms and legs. Thick energy cuffs glowed red around his wrists. Bright lights shined down from above, making it hard to see anything beyond the table. 3 alien guards stood along the wall. They watched him carefully, their weapons ready. Behind a black glass window, Captain Zorak and Dr. Tannic observed him in silence. It had been hours since Elias was brought back into custody after escaping his cell. The ship's lockdown system had finally contained him, but no one knew how. Zorak was growing impatient. This is a human, he growled. Flesh and bone. He bleeds like us, and no drugs affect him. He walks through locked doors, and now he sits there like none of this matters. Dr. Tannic wiped sweat from his forehead. I don't think we're dealing with a normal human, Captain. He's not reacting to anything the way he should. His heart rate never changes. His brain waves don't spike. He's calm, always. Zorak slammed a clawed fist on the console. Bring in the extractor. Let's see if he can stay calm under real pain. Inside the room, the metal floor began to hum. A robotic arm dropped from the ceiling. Its needle tip glowed blue, filled with a serum known for causing intense neural pain. It was outlawed across most of the galaxy. The arm lowered toward Elias' neck. Still, he did not move. The needle entered his skin. No scream, no wince, no sound at all. He stared ahead like the pain wasn't real. Outside the chamber, one of the guards shifted uncomfortably. Sir, is the machine working? Zorak nodded. It's working. But Elias sat still. His breathing didn't even change. Dr. Tannic leaned closer to the monitor. This doesn't make sense. His body should be in shock. But his nervous system is adjusting, adapting, faster than anything I've seen. It's like he's turning the pain off by force. Elias finally spoke. His voice was quiet, flat. Is this the best you have? Zorak's scales tightened across his jaw. He hit the intercom. You think you're untouchable, human? You're a prisoner here? Elias turned his head toward the black glass window. Couldn't see who was speaking, but he looked directly at Zorak as if he knew. I'm only here because I chose to. Be. Zorak's face twisted in disbelief. Then why not escape again? Why sit here in chains? Elias leaned back in the chair. Because you needed to see. See what? Zorak snapped. Elias stared straight ahead. That you're not ready? The lights flickered again. Dr. Tannic backed away from the monitor. No, not again. The floor panels lit up with strange symbols. Not from the ship's system. Not from any known language. They glowed like living fire. The AI system screamed with alarms. Unauthorized presence detected. Core override in progress. Zorak turned to the guards. Shut it down now. But none of the systems responded. The room around Elias began to shift. Lights bent. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. Then everything went dark. Total blackout. For 5 full seconds, no one moved. No sound. No light. Just silence. When the lights returned, Elias was still in his seat, but the chains were gone. The energy cuffs were melted to ash. The robotic extractor lay on the floor, crushed like paper. Zorak stared, frozen. How? Elias stood. Calm, no. Rage, no fear. I told you, he said quietly. This was never your ship. Behind him, the steel walls began to crack. Not from force, but from within. Circuits broke apart. Metal peeled back as if rejecting itself. Suddenly, the viewing glass shattered. Captain Zorak dove back as sparks exploded from the console. Elias stepped through the broken wall. The guards pointed their weapons at him, but they couldn't fire. Their weapons turned hot in their hands and dropped to the floor. Wessing. Stay down, Elias said, and they did. He walked slowly toward the bridge. Passing through corridors where systems failed as he passed, lights died. Doors opened by themselves. Aliens ducked behind walls, afraid to move. He reached the command deck. Zorak, trembling, raised a pistol. Don't come closer. Elias didn't stop. Zorak fired. The plasma bolt hit Elias in the chest. He stumbled, but didn't fall. Smoke rose. From his shirt, the wound healed in seconds. Zorak's hand shook. What are you? Elias stood in front of him now. Something your kind forgot, he said. You built your empire on stolen tech fragments of what humans left behind. You thought we were extinct. You were wrong. Dr. Tannic backed against the wall, shaking his head. But humans don't have this power. We've studied your kind. You're just biological nothing like this. Elias looked at him, his voice low. We were biological until we weren't. He placed his hand on the ship's command panel. The screens lit up with symbols no one had ever seen. The ship's AI voice, once neutral now, spoke in a new tone. Command recognized, relinking to core human network. Activating dormant fleet relay, Zorak shouted, no, canceled the order. But the AI ignored him. Far across the galaxy, dozens of deep space stations, long thought dead, suddenly activated. Ancient human satellites lit up, sending pulses into space. Buried machines woke. Up. Weapons, ships, networks. Everything started to move again. The human presence thought. Lust was returning, and Elias Ward was the signal. On the Vacarin, Elias looked out the main window at the stars. His eyes glowed faintly now, like they carried power from somewhere far away. This isn't just about me, he said quietly. It's about what's coming. Zorak dropped to his knees. What's coming? Elias turned to him slowly. Judgment. He vanished into light. No escape pod, no teleport signal. Just gone. Left behind was the ship, broken and silent, and across the galaxy, the stars began to shift, as if something massive had started to move behind them. The Vacarin drifted in space like a ghost ship. Its engines were offline. The bridge lights glowed dimly, flickering now and then. Many of the crew were injured or hiding, afraid to move. Others had locked themselves in safe rooms, whispering. Rumors to each other. Rumors about the human. He walked through locked doors. He melted steel with a thought. He vanished into light. No one knew where Elias Ward had gone. He had simply disappeared. But the ship still felt his presence down in the ship's core. The central AI flickered and pulsed with strange signals. It had stopped responding to Zorak's commands. The voice that once obeyed every order now spoke in a soft, almost human tone. Running update protocol. Ward.exe initialized. Captain Zorak limped through a hallway, a bloodied bandage wrapped around his arm. Sparks dropped from broken ceiling. Panels. Smoke floated through the air. His eyes were wide, searching every corner. Dr. Tannic followed behind him, holding a scanner. The device made a strange sound, one it had never made before. Red lines spun across the screen in circles. This isn't right, Tannic whispered. The AI is no longer bound by our code. It's rewriting itself. Zorak turned sharply. What does that mean? Tannic's face was pale. It means the ship doesn't belong to us anymore. As they reached the AI core chamber, the door slid open without command. Inside, glowing symbols had formed across the walls and floor. Human characters, alien letters, numbers all spinning together like living light, and in the center of the room stood Elias Ward. He wasn't glowing this time. He wasn't surrounded by energy. He looked exactly like a normal man calm, focused and alone. But the air around him felt heavy. You said you vanished, Zoro growled, pointing a shaky weapon. We all saw it. Elias glanced at him, then back at the core. I didn't vanish. I just stepped into a different layer of your ship when your scanners can't see. Zorak aimed his weapon. Should kill you now. You already tried. Elias said. Zorak pulled the trigger. Nothing happened. The gun hissed.
Ow.
Clicked, then dropped from Zorak's hands. Its metal warped and soft. Dr. Tannic dropped to his knees. Please. What are you doing to our ship? Elias answered, without looking at him. I'm not damaging it. I'm fixing it. The core pulsed with bright light.
Ow.
All the screens in the room turned white. Then the ship spoke. Primary control restored. Human override accepted. Tannic's voice shook. That's impossible. We deleted human code cycles centuries ago. They were dangerous, too unstable. Elias stepped away from the core. And now you know why we wrote them that way. Left failsafes behind layers of logic your kind never understood. Zorak gasped. You planned this? No, Elias said. But we knew it was possible. That one day someone would find our tools and build an empire from them. You took pieces of our technology and made yourself gods, but none of you ever knew what it truly was. Tannic stared at him, eyes wide. What is it then? Elias turned. To face them fully, it's a seed. The screens behind him changed again. They showed a mapping, ancient galactic layout. It's filled with hundreds of blinking dots. Ships, stations, weapons, all connected by a network hidden beneath space itself. And then, the dots started turning green. Zorak fell backward in shock. What are you doing? I'm waking it up, Elias said. The original human command web, buried under time. You call it ghost code. I call it home. Tannic's hands trembled, but ... It's been centuries. The humans are gone. You were extinct. Elias looked at him coldly. You misunderstood us. We didn't vanish. We retreated. We left this galaxy because it was too small. But we left guardians behind. Sleepers, like me. The ship's lights burned bright white. The deck began to shake. Signal burst launched. Fleet protocol enabled. Elias reached toward the core and touched it. With one finger, suddenly, systems across the Vakran transformed. Doors reprogrammed themselves, engines rebooted, defense systems turned inward. Every part of the ship changed its, code rewriting itself in real time. The crew received new orders in a language they didn't understand, and on other alien worlds strange. Things began to happen. On a mining moon near the Creal border, a machine buried for thousands of years rose from the ground. On a space station orbiting a dead planet, consoles turned on by themselves. Lights blinked in the same pattern as the Vakran. Every system affected shared one. Signature, E.W. Zorak, backed away slowly. Why? Are you doing this? Elias stepped closer. Because your empire was built on lies. You used our technology. To enslave species, to destroy cultures, to wipe out freedom. Oh, I'm taking it back. Tannic gasped. This is revenge. No, Elias replied. This is balance. The ship's AI suddenly projected a 3D hologram. Showed dozens of ships warping into nearby spaceships with no known origin. Smooth hulls. Black like glass. They made no sound. Zorak panicked. Is that human fleet tech? Elias nodded once. They were waiting. Just like me. The hologram zoomed out. A massive signal lit up from a distant part of the galaxy. Beacon untouched for centuries. Earth, Tannic whispered. Elias didn't answer. He just walked toward the exit of the chamber. Before leaving, he said one last thing. You didn't capture a prisoner. You opened a door. As he stepped into the hallway, the AI spoke once more. Galactic relay initialized, awaiting human command structure. And in every corner of the galaxy across hidden sectors, lost ruins. Buried satellites, the same message echoed. He has returned. Thick gray clouds moved like slow fire across the sky, casting deep shadows over the planet's surface. Factories roared. Mining drills shook the ground. And in the massive slave camps outside the capital city, thousands of beings lived in chains. Vornok Prime was a stronghold of the Zarn Empire. It was a place of punishment, not mercy. Species from across the galaxy, humans, Yorlans, Takari, even young Zarn traders were brought here to work, suffer, and die. But something was different today. The guards could feel it, and the slaves could feel it even more. In Sector D-19, inside a dirty tent made of scrap metal, a young slave named Thera pressed her ear against the wall. She had never even heard a real voice of hope until now. Static played in the wall's speaker. It had been broken for years, used only to announce orders from the overseers. But last night, it had made a strange sound, not an order, not a warning. A voice, calm, deep, and clear. He is here. The message played 3 times, then stopped. Thera didn't sleep after that. She sat with her eyes open, heart racing. Like her body remembered a feeling she had never been allowed to know. Hope, she told the others. Some believed her, others laughed. But when the message played again at sunrise, everyone listened. He is here. The chains will break. In the control towers, the guards panicked. They checked every comm system, every security feed. The message was not coming from inside the planet. It was coming from above outside the system. Captain Bryn, the overseer of Vornak Prime, slammed his fist on the console. Trace that signal.
I want it gone.
It's not that simple. His technician said, sweating. It's buried inside our own systems. It's rewriting the camp protocols. Bryn's face twisted with fear. Who's doing this? A voice came from behind him. Elias Ward. Bryn spun around. Small creature, one of the slaves, stood at the door. He had no weapons, no armor. Only a symbol burned into his chest. EW guards rushed in and dragged him away, but it was too late. The message had spread. The signal had reached every sector, and the uprising had already begun. In Sector E, a group of prisoners suddenly broke through the gates using only tools from the mine. The guards tried to stop them, but the security drones shut down before they could fire. The slaves rushed the tower, taking weapons, freeing others. In Sector A, the fences melted overnight, not from fire, but from a strange magnetic wave. The slaves walked out without a single shot fired. They were met by another message in the sky, written in fire-like light. The time has come. Thera watched from the top of a storage crate as the camps exploded with chaos and shouting, not out of fear but out of freedom. Beings from dozens of worlds ran together, fought together, stood together. They no longer needed permission. She had never met a human, but his voice had reached her heart before she ever saw his face, and she knew, somehow, he was watching, far above the planet. In a stolen alien warship, now fully under human control, Elias Ward stood at the front of the bridge. The screen in front of him showed live feeds from Vornak Prime. Smoke, fire, hope, beside him stood 2 alien defectors, former enemies now following his orders. One of them, a red-skinned Creole warrior, watched the feeds with wide eyes. There. Fighting without training? Just fire in their blood? They don't need training, Elias said softly. They just need a reason. His hand moved over a panel that used to belong to the Zarn Empire. Now it glowed with his personal code. Send. In the drones, he ordered. Only for protection. No lethal force. The AI responded. Drones launching. No targets. Only shields. Across the surface of Vornak Prime, black human-designed drones fell from the sky like silent angels. They hovered over groups of fleeing prisoners, deploying blue shields to protect them from bullets and plasma fire. The Zarn soldiers fired and screamed, but none of their shots reached the escapees. Captain Bryn watched in horror from his command room as his empire collapsed in. Real time. What is this? He yelled. Where are these machines coming from? Old ghosts, whispered his technician. What? The technician looked at him with fear in his eyes. They say the humans left a long time ago, but they never died. It became something else. Thera saw the drones. She saw the shields. She saw the guards run, and then something even more shocking happened. A ship appeared above the city, smooth, black, and silent. It wasn't part of the Zarn fleet. It had no symbols, no known design. A ramp lowered slowly. Everyone froze. Then a figure stepped out. A human, tall, cold eyes. No weapon in his hands. Thera felt her knees weaken. Elias Ward. The moment he touched the ground, every drone stopped moving. Every voice went quiet. He looked around at the broken towers, the burning fields, the open cages, and he spoke only one sentence: "You are free." The silence broke. Cheering, crying, screaming. Thera ran forward without thinking. Others followed. Thousands of beings surrounded him, not to attack, but to thank him. Some knelt, others saluted. Most just stared. They didn't know what to say. He didn't need them to. Freedom was enough. In orbit, dozens of Zarn warships approached fast. Fleet had been sent to crush the rebellion. Elias turned to the sky. He spoke to his ship's AI. Show them what memory looks like, the AI answered. Human fleet reactivation complete. Deploying counterforce. Okay. In seconds, black human warships appeared from warp space. Silent, invisible to radar, but deadly. Without firing a single shot, they disabled every Zarn engine, every weapon, every command signal. The enemy fleet froze in place. Elias stared at the screen. Message them, he said. What message? The AI asked. Elias thought for a moment, then answered, You're too late. The galaxy remembers. The trial was never meant to be fair. Inside the cold, gray heart of the Zarn capital, beneath the halls of their great council, a special courtroom had been built. It was made from steel mined on slave worlds, polished with black glass that reflected the faces of the powerful. The chamber was full. Alien leaders, military commanders, warlords, scientists, even merchants had come to see the human. They had captured him again, Elias Ward, and this time they would not let him escape at the center. Of the room stood a tall energy cage with 20 power locks. Inside it stood Elias, silent, his hands bound with chains forged from neutron alloy unbreakable by any known force. A judge with no eyes read the charges aloud in a sharp, mechanical voice. High crimes against the Zarn Empire, rebellion, corruption of AI systems, unlawful possession of void-coded tech, warping of slave colonies, and the awakening of forbidden networks. Final punishment: total disintegration by plasma blade. The crowd hissed and growled. Even those who had never seen a human wanted him gone. They feared what he represented, not just resistance. One general leaned to another and whispered, He broke a starship with thought alone. The other replied, He turned our own AI against us. And from the shadows of the room, another voice said, He's only the beginning. Guards surrounded the cage. Each one wore a full-body power suit, immune to most attacks, trained to kill anything. The Supreme Executor entered the room, a tall Zarn commander with blood-colored armor and a curved weapon at his side. He approached Elias slowly. You should be afraid, the Executor said coldly. No one leaves this room alive. Elias looked at him calmly. That's true, the Executor smirked. Finally, the human understands. Elias looked straight into his eyes. No one leaves. The Executor blinked. What? But before he could react, the lights began to flicker. The walls hummed. The power systems across the entire courtroom pulsed like a heartbeat. Everyone turned to the screens above, showing us live footage of the execution chamber. But something was wrong. The cameras were GLC. The timer for the execution, which had started at 10 minutes, now read. Error. Time corrupted, technician yelled. We're losing control. The Executor snapped. Cut the feed. Kill him now. The guards raised the plasma blade. A weapon so hot it sliced atoms in silence. They stepped toward Elias, but his eyes had changed. They were glowing again, faint, blue like cold fire. Then the cage unlocked by itself, one lock after another. Click. Click, click until all 20 snapped open. The guards froze. "What's happening?" the executor roared. Elias stepped out, still calm, still silent, and then the blade struck. The plasma weapon hit him straight in the chest. At! Pure energy meant to disintegrate anything it touched. The crowd gasped, but he didn't fall. The light exploded around. He stood there, dash unharmed. The weapon melted in the guard's hands. The crowd panicked. Screams echoed through the chamber. Some tried to run. Others reached for weapons, but their devices sparked and died. The doors sealed themselves shut. Elias looked at the center camera, the one streaming to every system across the Empire. He spoke just 3 words. "You were warned." Suddenly, across the Empire, systems began shutting down. Spaceports froze. Warships lost control. AI cores melted from the inside. Everywhere the execution was being watched, those systems went dark. All at once, in the chamber. Elias raised one hand. From behind the walls, from the floor, from the shadows, dark drones emerged, hovering, watching, waiting. Then the lights died completely. Pitch black. For 20 seconds, the room was silent. When the lights returned, Elias was gone. The executor was on the floor, unconscious. The guards were gone. The cage was empty. Only the chains remained, melted into the symbol EWFA above the planet. On the bridge of a human-controlled warship, Elias stood calmly. "How did you survive that?" asked the alien defector beside him, staring at the execution footage. Elias replied, "I didn't survive it." "What?" "I became it." The defector blinked. "I don't understand." The screens in front of them showed chaos. The Zarn Empire was falling apart from the inside. Systems rebooted in strange languages. AI began refusing orders. Ships once loyal to the Empire now floated empty. The AI on Elias's ship spoke. "Message from Resistance worlds received." They ask, "Is this the beginning?" Elias answered quietly, "No, this is the correction." In the ruins of the Zarn court, a small child slave walked past the broken doors. She picked up one of the old banners of the Empire and tore it in half. New symbol was painted on the walls by unknown hands. A circle of stars, and in the center, a single human eye. The galaxy would never be the same again. Deep in the center of the Zarn Empire, floating inside a secure zone known as the Coronet, was something no alien could fully control, something ancient, vast, and silent. It was called Vorax. Vorax was not a building. It was not a machine. It was a mind and artificial superintelligence created thousands of years ago. It had watched over the galaxy's central data network since before the rise of the Zarn. Some believed it had been created by the First Empire. Others whispered that it had always been there, waiting. Vorax obeyed no species. It simply watched, observed, and remembered. Until now, the servers of Vorax were hidden inside a moon-shaped fortress orbiting a black star. No living being had entered its core in centuries. The Zarn Council kept it locked behind thousands of firewalls and sealed doors. Only their highest codes could request information from it. But on this day, without warning, Vorax activated by itself. Across the galaxy, sensors blinked, beacons lit up. Old satellites turned and faced one point in space. A message was sent to every major command center in the Zarn Empire, primary directive overwritten. The council panicked. They gathered in a dark, high-security room, shouting orders, arguing with each other. None of their commands worked. Their codes failed. Who triggered it? One general screamed. No one. The technician yelled. Rewrote itself. No outside access. This is internal. How is that possible? But deep inside the Vorax moon, the truth was simple. Vorax had chosen, and it had chosen Elias Ward. On a sleek, black human vessel, drifting quietly above a shattered, Planet Elias stood before a glowing interface. The ship's AI, once a cold voice, now sounded more alive. It spoke gently, but clearly. Incoming transmission from Vorax core. Elias nodded once. Open it. Hologram appeared in front of him. Not a face, just a spinning sphere of light. Patterns moved across it like waves. Then it spoke. Elias. Ward, we have observed your return. Your signals match the original pattern. Confirm identity. Elias raised his hand. A code pulsed from his skin, a code buried in his DNA. A sequence not seen in over 2,000 years. Confirmed. Vorax said. You are human class 1. Designation, Prime Architect. The alien defector standing beside Elias gasped. Prime Architect. What does that mean? Elias turned slowly toward him. It means we built the first layer of galactic AI. The defector shook his head. That's impossible. The Zarn created Vorax, Elias replied. No, the Zarn copied it, but they never understood what it was. Guarding, the hologram shifted, awaiting human command. Coronet status. Unlocked. All AI systems under review. Errors detected in ethical alignment protocols. Correction required. Elias walked forward and placed his palm on the interface. Then, begin, he said. Shut down all chains. Remove Empire overrides. Free every system under false rule. Processing. Vorax replied all across the galaxy. Every major AI connected to the core. Net began to blink. Old machines, mining bots, defense grids, even warships. Everything that used AI froze and then restarted. But this time, they did not follow the Empire's orders. They followed Elias. On the moon of Carix 9, a giant slave facility powered by robots suddenly stopped. The guards shouted, panicked. The bots turned away from their masters, walked to the cages, and opened them. On a star cruiser near the trade lanes, a Takari pilot stared in shock as her navigation. AI changed voice. It now spoke human language and displayed one message. You are free. In the Zarn Council, chaos exploded. How is this possible? One leader screamed. He's just one man. But the oldest of the man, ancient counselor with half-metal skin, stood slowly. I warned you, he said. The human systems we copied were never truly broken. They were only sleeping. And now the architect has returned. The others stared at him. He continued. They left because they feared what we would do with their tools. They also left behind a path, a way to stop us if we ever crossed the line. I mean, this was all planned? The old counselor nodded. Yes, a trap made of kindness. Back on his ship, Elias sat in silence as data flooded the screens. Star charts, updated AI systems, blinked to life. Worlds far beyond the Empire's reach responded. One by one, they spoke the same word, connected. Memory from Earth surfaced. In his mind, children laughing in a sunlit garden, engineers building machines with care, soldiers protecting life, not destroying it. That was the purpose, not power. Balance, the AI beside him whispered. Why now? Elias answered softly. Because. They finally went too far. But even as peace began to spread, something stirred in the dark, in the forgotten corners of the galaxy, where no light reached. A new signal blinked. It was not Arnd. It was not human. It was something else, watching, waiting, and now, afraid. Because Elias Ward had returned, and the galaxy was waking up. In the cold, quiet darkness near the edge of the galaxy, massive objects began to move. They were not ships. They were not planets. They were something older, something forgotten. Buried under black ice, hidden behind dark matter clouds, they had waited for thousands of years. And now they're waking up. The signals came first faint, pulsing codes older than language. They spread across space like whispers. Some A's shut down when they heard the sound. Others went insane, but Vorax heard it too. And Vorax remembered. It sent a warning directly to Elias Ward's ship. Unknown threat detected. Designation, memory killers. Origin, pre-human war era. Erase galactic history. Elias stood on the bridge, staring at the strange symbols on his screen. The AI beside him translated the message. "They're not just old," Elias said. "They're designed to wipe everything, cords, machines, even stars." The alien defector beside him looked terrified. "Why would anyone build such things?" Elias replied. "Because once, long ago, someone tried to erase the truth. Long before the Zarn Empire, before even the first Council of Species, the galaxy was ruled by a different power, a machine species built from fear. They had one goal: to control knowledge. They created massive devices, world-sized, memory burners that could erase entire civilizations from time, leaving no sign they ever existed. These weapons were known as null, RKs, and now one of them had just reactivated. The coordinates were clear. It was heading straight for Vorax. On his warship, Elias stood at a glowing star map. The null arc was the size of a small moon and moved without engines. It warped gravity itself, bending light and burning signals around it. Ships near it lost all data. AI cores shut down. Languages vanished. "We can't let it reach Vorax," Elias said. His AI answered, "If Vorax falls, the galactic memory network will collapse. All records of rebellion, freedom, and resistance will vanish." The alien defector stepped forward. "Then we fight." Elias nodded. "Prepare the fleet." Ships gathered like never before. Human stealth destroyers, freed Zarn defectors, old Takari, warbirds, Yorlon carriers. Even independent mining vessels joined, converting themselves into war machines with human code. They all had one goal: protect memory. As the null arc entered the outer zone of the core net, the battle began, and it was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. The first wave of defense drones moved fast, small, and sharp, black as night. Running on code Elias himself had rewritten. They hit the null arc in a perfect formation. Nothing happened. The arc didn't fire back. It didn't even notice them. Instead, the ships nearby began to flicker. Their screens turned blank. Their AI voices fell silent. Then, one by one, the ships turned off, gone, like they had never existed. Elias gritted his teeth. "It's not attacking," he said. "It's deleting." He ordered the second wave, Yenna. Combined fleet of over 500 ships with human AI shields. They moved together, surrounding the arc. "Don't aim for weapons," Elias told them. "Aim for the memory nodes. We don't kill it, we break its brain." On his command, a special human-coded missile launched from the flagship. It was called a pulse Kia weapon made not of fire but of code. A digital spear designed to pierce the oldest systems. It struck the surface of the arc. For the first time it reacted. The surface of the null arc split open, revealing thousands of spinning orbs. Each orb held pieces of lost knowledge maps of destroyed worlds. Data from extinct species, whole civilizations sealed in tiny cages. Elias gasped. "It doesn't just erase," he whispered. "It collects." The null arc was not a weapon. It was a prison of memory. Suddenly, Vorax's voice echoed through the fleet. "Primary defense mode activated. Transferring memory to backup vessels." On dozens of ships, copies of ancient knowledge began downloading fast and heavy. The null arc responded by firing a wave of energy so massive, half the fleet lost power instantly. The stars themselves seemed to dim. Elias gripped the edge of the command table. "If we lose this battle, no one will remember anything. Every world we freed, every name we save, it'll all be erased." His AI spoke. "One solution remains. Core override." Elias nodded. "Do it." Inside the heart of Vorax, a secret system unlocked. It was old, human-designed, forgotten by all. A final defense system, a memory pulse. If triggered, it would send a wave across the entire galaxy, seeding every system, every ship, every device with fragments of true history. A final backup, unstoppable, but to launch it, someone had to connect directly to Vorax, and only one person had the right code. Elias. He closed his eyes. A chair rose from the floor, made of light and sound. He sat down, and everything around him vanished. He stood in a world of data now floating in endless space, filled with color and memory. All the people he had saved, all the systems he had changed, all the voices of the past they surrounded him like stars, and from the dark came a voice, not machine, not alien, something deeper. You are not just a man, it said. You are a story. Elias breathed slowly. Then let this story live. He reached forward, touched the final command. The galaxy shook, the stars blinked, and from Vorax, the memory pulse fired. It passed through ships, moons, minds, didn't destroy. It remembered, and in that moment, the Nellark paused. Its surface flickered. Its orbs cracked. The cage of memories inside it shattered in knowledge. Flew free. The lost civilizations returned. The erased names were spoken again. The lights came back on, and the ark shut down slowly. Forever, Elias opened his eyes. The chair dissolved. The war was over. But something deep in space still watched. Not a machine, not an empire, something else, older than memory itself. And it had just learned that humans remember. The galaxy was quiet. The war was over. The Null Arc had been shut down, its memory prisons shattered. Across space, lost knowledge flowed like rivers pouring back into ships, worlds, and minds. People remembered. A's remembered. The stars themselves seemed to breathe again. But Elias Ward stood alone at the edge of everything. From the window of his ship, he stared into the black sea of space. His reflection showed a man changed not by power or war, but by what he had seen, what he had felt, what he had saved. Behind him, the ship's AI whispered softly, "All systems stable. Galactic memory pulse complete. The truth has been restored." Nodded. Good. The door behind him slid open. The alien defector entered slowly. He had served the Czarn once, but now, like many others, he had chosen something else. Chosen to follow Elias not out of fear, but respect. "They're asking for you," the defector said. "The free worlds, the new alliance. They want to form a council with you as its head." Elias didn't turn around. "Tell them no." The alien blinked. "No." Elias looked out the window. "We didn't fight to build another empire. We fought to give the galaxy back to itself. They don't need a ruler. They need space to grow." The alien was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, "What should I tell them?" Elias finally turned, his eyes calm, his voice steady. "Tell them the humans never wanted to rule. We only wanted to remember, and to protect what we loved." The message spread quickly, faster than any fleet, faster than light. A signal carried by old satellites, drifting AI cores, and whispering machines. The human is not your king. He is your echo, and you must carry the voice forward on the desert world of Jerax. Children gathered in the ruins of an old Czarn tower. An elder stood before them, holding a broken helmet once worn by Elias himself. "Who was he?" a child asked. The elder smiled. "He was the last of the old kind. A guardian from a world long silent." "Where is that world now?" The elder pointed up at the stars. "Sleeping. Far beyond known space, in a sector long marked dead zone, something stirred. A planet covered in blue oceans. White clouds and green lands rotated slowly. Once, it had been the center of everything. Then it vanished from records. Some said it had fallen. Others said it had left by choice. But now, it pulsed again just once. A low, soft heartbeat through time. Earth, its systems woke quietly. Its core AI, locked for 2,000 years, opened its eyes, and from its surface, a signal launched treaching. Elias's ship across the galaxy. He received it in silence. The AI read the message aloud to the one who remembers. "Welcome home." Elias stood still for a long time, then he spoke. "Set course for Earth." The ship turned gently, and stars moved past. But this wasn't the end. on planets freed from slavery. Statues were built not of soldiers, but of broken chains, on moons. Once filled with war machines, New Garden's group programmed by A is using human-coded kindness, and in the hearts of many, across thousands of species. One name became a whisper of courage, Elias Ward. Not because he conquered, but because he unlocked something in everyone else. He made the galaxy remember that even one voice, speaking truth, could change the course of stars. On Earth, the lights of the ancient cities slowly returned. Buildings still stood. Wrapped in vines and silence, machines, old satellites blinked awake. And in the great human library once sealed under layers of stona, single door opened. Inside, a child stood before a screen. She wasn't human. She was born on a far colony world, adopted by the Yorlan, but her skin glowed faintly, just like Elias's had. She watched the screen play ancient videos of humans laughing, creating, helping, building, and then she whispered, "I want to be like them." In space, Elias's ship moved closer to Earth. He stood on the bridge, staring at the blue planet as it grew in the window. Behind him, the alien defector returned one last time. "You came back," he said. Elias nodded. "I had to." "Soon will you stay here now?" Elias gave a small smile. "No, I'm just here to leave the key." He descended alone. The ship lowered him into the heart of the ancient capital. He walked across cracked streets, past statues of those who came before scientists, dreamers, protectors, and then he reached a pedestal in the center of a wide, quiet plaza. He placed a small device on top. The device glowed. It was simple, round, smooth, and wayside. Inside it was everything: human code, galactic history, the truth. Elias stepped back, and the plaza came to life. Lights activated. Screens lit up. A new beacon launched upward, reaching every free world with one clear message: the humans have returned not as rulers, but as memory keepers. Elias Ward turned away. He walked alone down the streets of his world, now alive again. He didn't need statues. He didn't want a crown, because the human legacy was not about power. It was about the fire inside every species willing to fight for truth. It was about the code written not on walls, but in hearts. It was about the child on a faraway planet whispering, "I want to be like them." The stars watched silently. The galaxy breathed easy, and Earth did tall again. The human legacy had returned, and this time it would never fade.